A new team enters the mix for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it's the New York Knicks. But first, expansion coming to the NBA. We got a big update on that front. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. About 70% of you right now are not subscribed. Let's fix that. Hit the subscribe button. Going to be a big summer, the summer of trades around the NBA. I think we're going to get a lot of activity this offseason, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, let's dive into it. Expansion. A topic. Clearly, it's coming. And now we've got the strongest indication that it's coming sooner rather than later. Adam Silver made an appearance on Sirius XM and said there's tremendous interest from Seattle and Las Vegas in expansion. Not a surprise there, but did say that he and the NBA team owners are meeting in July to formally discuss the idea of future NBA expansion. This is a big step. So far, it's been talked about. It's been rumored. There were whispers about it before then. We're moving along in the process. Now they are outright publicly discussing expansion, and I believe it is coming sooner rather than later. Now, that still means we're a few years down the road from a team actually coming into play. You've got to put together ownership groups. You've got to figure out who's actually going to control these teams. Then you've got to go through all of the process of setting up a team, the arena, everything else that needs to happen. A lot of logistics involved. It takes time, but I do think sooner rather than later, we're going to get two teams, and it's almost certainly going to be Seattle and Las Vegas, which then brings us to the big question of who moves to the Eastern Conference. We take a look at the NBA map right now, and a lot of people, I still get this all the time. A lot of people, when I say two teams are going to come into the West, they say, oh, two teams get to move East then. No, the goal is to keep it even. So it's 15-15 right now, East versus West in terms of the number of teams. And if you add two teams to the West, Seattle and Las Vegas almost certainly will be the winners of this expansion push here. You only need to move one team to the Eastern Conference, because then you would be at 17 teams on the West, 16 teams on the East, move one from West to East, and you're at 16-16. So the big question becomes, who gets to move? In addition to, does the NBA go back to the drawing board in terms of conferences here? But first, let's talk about who would get to move. Let's say conferences stay intact. Well, the knee-jerk reaction would be to say that just the furthest East team should move to the Eastern Conference. And you look right now, I guess technically Memphis is slightly further east than the New Orleans Pelicans are, or perhaps the Minnesota Timberwolves are. However, I would contend that what we should be looking at is not who is geographically furthest east, but who is closest to Eastern Conference teams and furthest from West teams for when we're talking about travel. And by that notion, I do think it should be the Minnesota Timberwolves that head to these. Look at the Wolves up there. There's no West teams near them. None. You've got the Milwaukee Bucks, the Bulls, the Pacers, the Pistons, the Cavs, the Raptors. Very easy to make a little division right there from all of those teams. And you look how far the closest West team is what? Denver to Minnesota, and they're not that close. Look at how far like the Portland Trailblazers have to fly in order to get to Minnesota. Look at how far the Lakers, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Kings have to fly in order to get to Minnesota. None of the East teams have to travel that far to get to an in-conference opponent. So even if we look at Boston all the way to Miami, it's still going to be a roughly, just eyeballing it, shorter distance than, say, LA to Minnesota. It would make a lot more sense to remove Minnesota from the Western Conference. West teams, when they go to play the teams in the South, that's not that big of a deal because you can hit all of them on one trip, and Minnesota isn't sitting up there by themselves. That's my opinion, though. What do you think? Let me know who you think should move from West to East, assuming Seattle and Las Vegas are the two new teams coming in. If it is Seattle, it will certainly be the Seattle Supersonics. They will come back. They will not give up that kind of a brand name, that recognition in Seattle. It will be the Sonics once again. And then Las Vegas, who knows? I don't know what the team name would be for Las Vegas. Maybe you guys can give me some ideas in the comment section down below. All right, let's get into the Giannis of it all. Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, we know is going to be meeting with the Bucks. Essentially, he has to choose. Does he want to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks, or does he want to contend for championships? I don't believe he can do both. I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm not unique in this opinion, but I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks have the roster that they need in order to contend, nor do they have the assets or the ability to turn over their roster right now without parting with Giannis, particularly with the unfortunate Achilles injury to Damian Lillard. By the way, as I'm recording this, we are still waiting for news on Jason Tatum. We'll have more on that later when we get the official word. Again, the fear for him is a torn Achilles, and we'll see what the MRI shows. But with Damian Lillard out for most likely the entire season, Giannis, I don't think he can win in Milwaukee. So word is that he's already starting to look at some other options and consider for the first time being open-minded to going somewhere else. I believe that's where this is going to land. This is going to be the summer of a Giannis trade. We already have the San Antonio Spurs, who just picked up the number 2 pick. They've got Wemby, the 2 years ago Rookie of the Year. They have the reigning Rookie of the Year in Stephon Castle, and they just picked up the 2nd pick in this year's draft. They are absolutely loaded with assets. The San Antonio Spurs are a major threat to combine Wemby with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Houston Rockets, they didn't get the kind of lottery luck that the Spurs got, but the Houston Rockets still have a number of young players, some talent that they could potentially package together, and they've got future draft capital from Phoenix as well to maybe go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now we've got Ian Begley saying, don't count out the Knicks. Says the Knicks could get in on Giannis as well. Said after trading for Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges and re-signing OG Anunoby, the Knicks, on paper, don't look like a team that could trade for Antetokounmpo. But league sources familiar with the dynamics say it would be foolish to count the Knicks out because of their roster construction. If the 24-25 season had gone poorly, the Knicks would have had strong interest in dealing for Antetokounmpo. Now, obviously, the Knicks right now up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics. If they make a Eastern Conference Finals run, they make an NBA Finals run, they win an NBA championship. Obviously, the farther they go, the less likely it is that they're going to break up this team. But let's say Milwaukee is not able to get their own picks back. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, about the idea that the Milwaukee Bucks could potentially engage the New Orleans Pelicans in a Giannis trade, not necessarily as a Giannis landing spot, but in order to get some of their picks back. The Blazers also have some of their picks. If the Milwaukee Bucks want to outright tank, then they would need to get their own draft picks back in order to make that tanking beneficial. So could they involve a 3-team trade and make something work there? But let's say they can't get their picks back. In that scenario, maybe it's better for them to get pieces that can help them win right now rather than focus on future draft capital in a Giannis trade. And if that's the case, what if you were to stack up, I don't know, Mikal Bridges at $25 million and Josh Hart, right, as the base of your package for Giannis Antetokounmpo, plus some draft capital coming from the Knicks? What if you do something along those lines? That adds pieces to help the Bucks win right now. Again, the draft capital would have to be significant. I'm not saying that alone is enough to get Giannis. You'd have to add significant draft capital to the mix, but maybe there's something to build around from there. So if the Bucks do go, I don't think the Knicks, when we're talking about a total overall trade package here, unless they're willing to do something that we would not expect, which would mean moving Anunoby, and maybe they would move Anunoby, but moving Anunoby, moving Karl-Anthony Towns, moving the combo of Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, like that kind of stuff starts to get interesting for the Bucks. But I think if the Bucks are really set on we need to continue to win right now, then the Knicks make a lot more sense than if they're looking for future assets. If they're looking for future assets, okay, that's when we start getting into San Antonio. We start getting into Phoenix. We start getting into it needs to be a 3-team trade, bringing back some of the picks that the Bucks had traded away, things of that nature. So I do think that the way this plays out is going to be fascinating this summer. I think all 29 teams are going to check in, but really, what do the Bucks want for Giannis? What path do they want to choose? Do they want to truly rebuild, tear this thing down, and focus on future draft capital? Or do they want to get back pieces that can help them win right now? That's going to matter a lot when we evaluate who's got the real best trade package for Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's going to come down to not just what is the overall value, but what direction is it that the Bucks want to go in? So the New York Knicks, don't cut them out on the Giannis Antetokounmpo chase, although right now they are solely focused on beating the Boston Celtics, advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals, and maybe bringing home an NBA championship this year. Everybody give me your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think it's going to take to get Giannis Antetokounmpo? Who's going to land him? And on top of that, what do you think about NBA expansion? Don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.